confused of like, why would you activate it from? Why wouldn't you just go edit the script?
Which script?
Well, from Ditto itself.
But Ditto is not a script. Maybe it's a script, but it's an application. So
oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
it's
why
compile. Maybe it's. I don't know if it's on the auto key, but it's a compile application.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was an automatic script.
No, there are some clipboard history done in auto key, but not sure for Ditto.
Yeah, there's some key bindings there.
I'm on GitHub to check the code.
You could drag it. Oh yeah, look at the code.
So extension like .h, .ccp, I think it's C++, maybe.
Could you do like Control A or Control F and just type in .ahk?
I can share my screen. Yeah. What do you suggest, Tom?
Back on the main page that you were on. Yeah, the code. You could just push Control F and type in .ahk and see if it finds anything. It's much faster.
No.
Okay, so yeah, there's no
it's not
HK.
For sure, it's not HK. Just try to find what it is, but...
What's Ditto do? I've heard of it, but I've never used it.
Clipboard history. Something like what we now have with Windows 10, but with much more features and quite stable for my own use. There are some others clipboard history tools that are also popular, but I like this one.
Tom, I'm very curious because Jean and I will show our age. Do you know what a Ditto is?
A Pokemon.
What was the full term, Jean?
I couldn't tell. To me, Ditto is to reproduce, to copy, but I don't know if what you are referring to. We don't have the same references.
Okay.
And that's what the Ditto Pokemon did. It duplicated.
It predates Xerox copies, right? It was a Ditto something machine. I forget the exact name. It made a really light purple colored text copy of. That's what they used to use, in schools and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah. And they haven't been around for a really long time.
I don't know the French name for that, but don't remember the name Ditto at that time. I consent.
John's. I'm not sure what you mean.
Who's John?
Johnny. Well, maybe he meant Jean, is my guess. But
yeah.
And when you say his channel, he does have a QAP channel, but it's it's not under his name.
You can find that under Joe's channel.
Question on the
Zoom chat, or maybe he was just mentioning your screen is what I was guessing is what he was saying, but I'm not sure.
I feel like I had a question somewhere. I gotta find it though.
Oh.
I know it was a comment on one of our live things. I'll find it, hopefully.
And then other people, and I just released a video on it, have been mentioning if you're using Site for Auto Hotkey, when you open it, it comes up with this really large, unable to update issue, and you can hit OK and it goes away. But you cannot
hit OK. But you cannot hit OK because the message is so large that you don't see the OK button. So you have to know that you hit Enter. That's the only way to close this window. Excuse me, Joe. Yeah.
No, that's fine. Yeah. No, it's a good point. And what was weird was the solution is you add a line of code, which I made a video on, and I'll post here in just a second the code. But I didn't have that line of code in my version of Site, and yet I don't get the error. So I'm like, I'm not sure why my.
Well, it's a line probably that does the check for checks for update on a website that is now down. So that's why we got this error message. Maybe if you don't have the line, it doesn't check for update.
No, the check for update, which they didn't tell you there, is in the global properties file, because you're not supposed to mess with that, right? You go to your user properties file. I see it in my global properties file. It's set to 1, which is check for updates. And then in your user property files, you set it to 0 to say don't override that other setting. Well, I didn't have the override, and it's in my other one, but I still didn't get that issue. But I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
but it is a simple one. And actually, Dale, I reread your question after I sent the link to the video. I thought you were saying, how do you get rid of the error? He was saying, should we move away from it? Here's a couple things. If you cite for AutoHotkey, it's a great solid editor, has debuggers, has a lot of great functionality. It is based on a much earlier version. So there's the overall site editor, Cite for AutoHotkey, and maybe Isaiah can correct me on how I'm saying this. It's kind of like a fork of it. It's borrowing that technology, but it's a much older version compared to the newest versions of Cite right now that are out there. Right? No one has gone and updated it with the most.
Yeah, I think it's 2014, maybe something like that.
Yeah. So maybe this will get someone to take action while they're fixing this other issue and actually update the core it's based off of.
Right.
But still get back to your question, though, Dale, I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, there's no new security issues, right, because of it. It'd be more of a global question of, do you want a more up-to-date editor?
Yeah.
Is your volume, or maybe your mic's just...
Let me, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's
Hi,
better.
guys.
Yeah, there we go. So just to chime in on that, the Scintilla control is one of the oldest controls out there. And many editors are based on that. Now, Cite was the editor that was used as an example of how to use the Scintilla controller. And there has been some spin-off like Cite for AutoHotkey and Cite for other languages as well. But even though Scintilla is actually evolving, there's still a lot of code updates on that. Cite for AutoHotkey itself, I don't think it has been updated for a long time. So that's basically the editor itself is the one that hasn't been updated. And it seems to be that the site where it was hosted made some changes, and that's unfortunate that the code itself actually looks for that particular website and now it's down.
In Isaiah, that's where we were talking about just this the other day. Is I don't know why in today's day and age, like actually the URL over my head, right? That's a pretty link redirect where at any point in time I can change, on my server where that is pointing, and had the person who now granted the URL was probably under their domain. So like in my case,
right.
my automator unscrewed, it wouldn't fix it.
Yes.
But if you have an endpoint that has to change, like I can point it to YouTube, I can point it to LinkedIn, I can point it wherever I want, right? And what's really cool is people wouldn't have to go update their programs, right? This could all be done on my server and negate people having to go update their downloads of Cite or whatever program.
Pretty links are just kind of dynamic variables, right? And we were discussing this, like you wouldn't make a program without variables, right? It is really good to just go ahead and have something that you just change what is pointing to without affecting the end user, and having a pretty basically does exactly that. It's very good, actually.
I see Anamon said he had a weird idea earlier this week. Hopefully it's not too weird.
Joe, I would like, if we have time today, that if you could talk to us about the icon maker that Elbent made, or I think you're working on it. I would be interested in knowing more about that.
Nice. It is a very nice tool. Right?
Yeah, Isaiah, why don't you go ahead and download it, and I can find the link if you need me to, but
yeah, so...
I referenced it in the newsletter the other day. I don't know if I have a download. So over the weekend, I had a call with Helbent, and we were chatting and just showing stuff. And right before we went to leave, he goes, "Hey, you might like this other tool I just released, a little while ago. It's, I'm working on." And he showed me, and I'm like, "Holy cow! Like this is one for me. I loved it, but I thought even for QAP, what would be really cool? What if you could quickly say, hey, I want a custom icon, but it's of something on my screen, something I want to grab real quickly and do, a heartbeat. Like we could adapt this to do it either for my scripts or for QAP or something."
Can you confirm, I'm sorry, the name of the script again? Icon Maker?
Quick icon.
I would say look in the newsletter if you have that handy.
Okay, yeah, I do.
Because, there was something, and I think it had a plural or something. That's what threw me when I read it. It was like, it was quick icons. Or...
Let me see, hold on. Quick Oh, so yeah. I have redeemed this one. And here the script is going to
Yeah, it's using GDI, of course, and actually, John, I hadn't had a chance to write them and ask about capturing square icons instead of the round. I'm not sure why he chose that, just other than probably just
He said somewhere that it was the need he had at the time he wrote that script, but it would make sense it would be fine to have the option to select
right,
square or round,
yeah,
and to save to a file. What I just get from what it is at this time is that it produces a kind of binary code or a stream of data, but how do you use it in the end? That's the part I don't get about script at this time. As I've seen it, I look at it, but how to create the icon file itself.
well, and I'll tell you, when I looked at this before, there was, the references to the H bitmap, and then there was another one, and very confusing. And that's where on a podcast, Jackie demonstrated how to convert one of them to where it didn't have to save the file. Like it used the screen clipping tool, but didn't save it as a file. But it's not so simple.
We will see. So here's the thing. Let me see if I could. I'm sharing my screen right now, and this is actually the code, and it is a good demonstration of the way how I personally would do this. Whenever I get a script that is from somebody else and I don't know how it works, then I would take a look at grab the script, collapse it completely, and at least in VS Code in other languages, in other editors, you might see this. You have an outline of the code, and you can see more or less the main functions out there. So probably I would know exactly what it does real quick. And to confirm what John was asking about, yes, it actually uses a bit64 string, and probably that is basically the binary data itself. So it either saves binary data or actually converts binary to a bitmap. So let's go ahead and take a look at something else. I noticed right away that it says like my altered GDI library, which would be at gdip.hk. Now, I'm not really sure if that's something that we needed, or probably he's just saying like point to whatever library.
I think you should edit it to put the link to
exactly.
your GDIP library.
Let's double check if I do have that. I think you do, exactly. I think you do have one. So let's go ahead and GDIP here. We could just add it to the main library here temporarily. What's this? Oh, cancel. It's not following up.
So here's a good lesson. If you're using AutoHotkey, you're not used to the libraries. If you have it in like where AutoHotkey is
on the main, yeah, exactly.
LIB folder, it'll automatically look there for it.
I personally do not do that. I actually try to always kind of like have I'm actually kind of like, hold on, that's because this thing is not good.
And I know for Isaiah, he's often sharing his code with a lot of other people or sending it out to clients, right?
Exactly. So that's the point. So basically, I want to be aware when something is being included in my file, and but if you personally do personal code, like, yeah, that's not an issue. Just go ahead, put it on AutoHotkey lib like this, and it should.
Well, you're putting it under your documents LIB folder, which is fine. There's three places that by default checks, right?
Yes.
And there's where the executable, the AutoHotkey executable is underneath there under LIB. This folder you're showing, and then the local LIB folder
for the script itself, right? Exactly. But in general, I don't know why
there's an issue with this file.
No, it's just my bandwidth seems like for some reason I have been having issues downloading files recently, and let me restart it. So for some reason it was not my computer breaking down, and that's the reason why it was not working. But yeah, I don't know what my computer is acting a little bit strange at this point, but I'll just a minute. Let me.
It's because we're doing live.
Yeah, it had to be live, right? No, but let me see if my with right now not even my Windows.
But here's the weird part: is like your Zoom, everything is great. So
Yeah, that's
what's failing your bandwidth.
no, and not even. And what I'm actually experiencing is this: like you see my my Explorer file. If I try to find stuff in here, it's not finding anything.
I typically, because I have a hotkey, you're gonna laugh because mine happens so much. I have a hotkey I can hit and it closes Explorer and relaunches it.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do in a second.
Yeah, I need to
It is
reinstall it.
funny. It is funny though. I've never experienced something like this. It had to be on the live call, right?
Right.
I wonder if it's an update because my computer's been having the same issue all week with pretty much what you're having.
Oh, really?
So I wonder if something got a little messed up because I know I had an update earlier this week. I also didn't have internet for 2 days. That sucked. That was so boring.
that is one of the biggest,
Yeah, Comcast had a huge outage around this entire area for 2 days. It was terrible. Couldn't really watch TV or YouTube or anything.
nothing at all. Oh, man.
So there's, while you're working on that, there was another question. Someone asked, it's possible to detect if Zoom is muted, and I would share my screen, and I can, but well, you're sharing your screen, which is fine. But
Let me
auto
stop sharing.
hotkey. Well, I can't.
Yeah, okay, no.
You can do it. It's fine. Do it, and then I'll just do the screen clipping because it's I can't share my screen and share the Zoom window. At least not
Right,
easily.
exactly, yeah.
But what I can do is use my nifty screen clipping tool and bring it over. Right, so you guys can see this.
Yes.
So here's my toolbar where the mute is. When I was trying with the ACC tool, which is my first go-to on a, well, I would have tried the Simple Spy kind of tool looking for controls. I already know that doesn't work. I was hoping the ACC library would allow me to peek inside. It gets the entire window. It doesn't give me specifics. I happen to know, and Isaiah, I know we just did a project for a client, right, on the API library, but I don't think we saw anything that had to do with actual detection of settings. Do you remember anything with that?
No.
Yeah, because
I do not remember. And probably if there is, it might be very likely on the paid version or something like that. Those are very advanced stuff. Actually,
Yeah.
yes, there are. I remember an API that gave you the settings for a user, but I don't think.
But not a live setting. Right?
Not the settings for the meeting. Is what I mean.
Dynamic, yeah. So what my simple way, which I don't love, would be to use a tool like Automate My Task to, I'm gonna hit F1 and I'm gonna look. So here's the thing muted, right? And move away. Let's say display matches. Hopefully it didn't find it, which I do run into. So let's change this some. There it goes. It found it, and so searching for the image of the muted mic. If it's not muted, it wouldn't be there, but the muted mic will show up, right? And it's not perfect, but that's how I would probably solve this, because unfortunately, there's Zoom is really hard to peek inside.
Yeah. Many commercial fraud programs not only are difficult to manipulate, but they actually actively look for ways to make it more difficult. Let me double check on something. I already have the GI library.
Zoom's a what do you call those kind of apps? Electron or whatever. I can never remember the word, but it's like it's basically Chrome. Yeah, and those are always a pain.
Yes, because
As soon as I see that, I'm like, oh, this is not gonna work.
we'll check what this does. Let me see if this works. Control to capture icon. Okay. Okay. So it is working. Basically, if we have the include file commented out and the GDI library on your folder or next to the app, on the lib folder for the app, you should be good to go. And the main idea, what I wanted to check real quick is, let me double check here. He told me about a hotkey, and he was actually, well, we have the escape. Told me about the control. So what I wanted to double check was what they could do with it. Okay. We have the pop-up window here. The labels, capture string. This is the one that I'm actually not interested in. And what he does, where is it? Okay. Yeah. So it looks like, again, he is using some GDI libraries to create binary files that later on he will be able to. Yeah.
Did you demonstrate the script yet?
No, not yet. I'm just gonna open it now. So
well, let people have a clue of what it does. You know,
yes. So just a minute.
Incidentally, I used the inspect tool, you know, the UI automation approach instead of the ACT library. It actually identified the mute button on its own. So there is a possibility you could use the UI automation approach into automating to check to see if Zoom is muted or not. Just
awesome. What the reason why I'm actually kind of like reading the code is that I'm looking for the hotkeys and I don't see any. So I remember that there's a way for you to kind of like switch the size of this, but I'm not really sure how.
After you capture
shift. No, shift. Oh, okay. Here we go. Arrow keys, use wheel to adjust precise position. But it's so slow. I think there's something.
Hold down control and shift and try that.
I know that control actually goes ahead and captures the icon. So
I know he often has a second one to change the step rate.
Yeah. Well, for now, I think the arrow keys for position and mouse wheel for size. Now, what it does is that it goes ahead and allows you to capture an image. So say, for example, I want to do, restart Control-Shift F5 now. Okay, it's different. So it allows you to capture a specific image, and to do that, you just point, Control, you get the image, and now you can create an icon out of that image. So it could be anything you want. So basically, I could just go ahead and take this and create an icon out of that, which is amazingly good, because if I like that image and I want it for my program, then I could just go ahead and use this. Now,
the question is how to save this to a file.
Right, so you have a clipboard, it converts it into a base 64 string. When you click on that, you can go ahead and paste that on your script. There it is. And you can use it. Here we go, the icon, all of these little things. It gives you different sizes for the icon. And the part that I'm not really sure about, here we go. Here's the function that we go ahead and convert it into a, so clipboard. Here's my function. So this bit64 to bitmap is what the function that you would use to reference that on your script. So the input here would be one of the variables that we saw up here. So let's say if I want the 300 by 300 size, I just grab that one. I could even ditch the others, for example. So I could ditch all the other icons if I don't need them, right? And after that, just 1 second. Oh no, so no, hold on. It is actually appending to it. So no, this one big chunk of data is one.
It's one
thing.
file.
So you,
it's
yeah,
one,
so
one variable.
One variable. So do not delete anything. I'm sorry. So basically, you have the whole file. That is binary data, so we could actually save that as a file as a PNG file. Well, if it is not compressed. But now you have this B64 bitmap function that would return a bitmap that maybe you can use it on this icon file here. You can use it on one of the functions that actually expects bitmaps. Like I assume the picture control can handle a bitmap. I think you can do that. So any function or any control that accepts a bitmap for a parameter, you can use it and it will read it as a file. Now, I haven't tested it myself.
Yeah. Is there a GDPI, in the GDPI library, is there a function that would take this bitmap stream and save it to a file?
Yes, I think there should be.
Yeah, because my screen clipping tool, it leverages that and writes it.
Right.
Do you have a link to where this is to download?
Yes. Let me go ahead and do this.
I just want to share it on my channel because a lot of people seem to.
Be interested in that.
Yeah,
So this
because it is cool.
Let me give you the link to the post itself, what the code is. So if I remember correctly, good. Graph. Copy this. If I paste that, it should take me directly to that post. Right, and that post, you just select all and copy. That's the script. So let me send it on Zoom real quick.
Sweet, thanks.
Trying to help Benton to doing a bit more videos. He's not right in the, his, you're going to get used to getting in the flow. And I was telling him how when I took a break for a while before, it is like you get out of the flow and, it's just a process that once you get back in it, it's easy. But
right. So now the program itself gives you some customization, right? It gives you adding a border, changing the size of it, and so on. You get the base64. I think there are some functions that you can work with the base64, and it has the function as well to convert it into a bitmap. I think it is really good, and you can find these really useful for many situations in which you need a really quick icon in your script. So if you know what you're doing, this is a really good function. If you don't, it doesn't have like a very big learning curve. It's easy to find out what you can do with this online.
And the script, I have a script that, because what I see is a lot of people have, 8 green H's in their system tray, right? Because they don't change the default icon for the script.
Yeah.
So I have an AutoHotkey script that creates a GUI that looks in 2 of the main DLL files and allows you from the Windows, DLL files to pick icons from those. But that's when I thought, hey, taking this functionality and adding it to it, to where you can say, hey, just give me that image there. Okay, now make an icon file out of that and save it for me as a file. And then it gives you the syntax to put it into your AutoHotkey code, right? To use the system tray icon, whatever, and just make that simple, because a lot of people don't update them, and it just takes a second, but you do have to have an icon that you want, and that's where I have, I don't know, maybe 500 icons that I usually select.
Now, the good thing about that one is that even if you do not, like, sometimes you find it hard to find an icon file, right, for your script. But this one allows you to create one from basically anything. Like you like that image, okay, that's an icon right there. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I saw. Wait, is capture solving possible with AHK? No.
Well, it depends. I've done it before.
It depends on the capture you're solving.
Yeah. If it's just the one that says "Are you a robot?" and you click the check mark.
I still understand.
But yeah, no, if you're doing like the pictures, like yeah, no.
Now there are APIs out there that you can connect to, and they have much more sophisticated AI that can try. So in that sense, you can connect to an API that possibly could do it, right? It's just directly. It's very. I mean, hell, I have Tom. I can't solve the damn thing. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is, John. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I found a function in the GDPI library that is GDPI save bitmap to file. So you pass the bitmap as parameter. So that's what is created by the function that you were showing us.
Exactly.
And then output is probably the path to the file. What format is it? A PNG? Is it a bitmap? We would have to take a closer look, but it's part of the pieces that we need if we want to create an icon file.
And
Okay.
if you look in,
And it's the extension that will determine the format. So if your path ends with PNG, it will be a PNG file. What I'm looking at.
Okay.
Every format is accepted: BMP, JPEG, etc.
Okay. And that's the point. As I mentioned, like finding the information for how to convert that into a file or something like that is not that hard to do once, because that is the GDI library itself. Like that is something, or well, the GDI in general is something very old and very well known. So if people really need, you will find a lot of information for it online. And what I'm looking for right now is that function.
See, save bitmap.
Ah, there it is. Yeah.
that's what I was saying. In my screen clipping tool, it saves as I think a JPEG and a BMP. You remember, Zayas?
Yes, it does.
Automatically.
Yes. So basically, again, this is something that I would recommend for, you know, if you are dealing with files or libraries that you are not familiar with, it is always a good idea. Oh, where's my file? It's always a good idea to just go ahead and take a look at the outline of the script itself, because you will find a lot of information in there. Here we have kind of like an outline. You will find all the functions available, and you can search for them, like save. And I have the save bitmap to file. I can just click on it, and the script, the thing is going to jump to it, and I would basically have an idea of what it does really quickly. So having an outline is great for, you know, getting to understand code that you have never seen in your life.
Help me understand something here, because this is one thing that always just doesn't make sense to me. It says save bitmap to file, right? And one of the file formats is quote unquote a bitmap,
BMP.
right? Yeah,
Well,
right. That's
right.
not the same thing, though, correct?
No. So the file that ends in BMP is a format in which to save a BMP file. It's a format.
I think it is an uncompressed format.
Exactly.
These are large
format.
files.
Now, here, the question in your, I would say, would be rephrased. Is a bitmap in memory the same format as the bitmap in a file?
Mm-hmm.
I cannot answer that
Maybe.
question. I think it is.
Maybe,
I think it
yeah.
is. Basically, it would grab whatever is in memory and dump it into a file. And if you put the .bmp extension on it, like Windows will know what to do with it.
Yeah.
I would assume that.
And the base 64 stream that we've seen in the previous script, the make icon script, it is a visual representation of this stream, something that is kind of encoded to be visible with number and letters. No,
Not in binary zeros and ones.
no binaries character that you would see on screen.
Exactly.
Yeah, or be able to paste or to handle as text. Yeah.
Exactly. So basically, you grab zeros and ones. Think about it as the bitmap format is zeros and ones set in a specific format. It is in memory as a bitmap. Now, when you do the base 64, you encode those zeros and ones in a way that is actually letters, so you can actually work with.
could we bypass the base 64 step in what we have in the icon script, so that
I would
when
assume so,
when
yeah.
when we get the image, instead of creating a bitmap, a B64 stream, we would directly save it using the GDPI function to save to a file.
I would assume so. So
Again, my screen flipping tool, that's what it does, right? It's
right.
not-
So it doesn't create the base 64
Because there's a lot of
right.
maybe extra steps that are not required if what we just want is to save the icon to a file.
Exactly. So it says here encode BMP to string. Let me see, where is it used? This is where he does it. So hold on, just 1 second. Okay. So this is where he does. So when he says
But he get-
for base 64, this part here you might change it to save. We could use the other function that we were talking about, save to bit.
Yeah, so
Save bitmap to
main dot output bitmap, what we add as a parameter in what. So
Yeah,
this
this
is
is
the
the-
icon.
Right. Exactly.
So instead of all this that is saving to the clipboard, we could just replace it with making a file, saving to a
So
file.
yeah, we could just go ahead and do this.
Yeah.
Main dot out bitmap. I think that's all good. And we would save it to PNG. I'm not sure.
No, what you give to it is
Quality.
first parameter is the path. Parameter is the full path.
Oh, the
Ending
path.
by,
Okay,
yeah,
so let me see. Hold on.
ending by PNG if you wish to create a PNG file.
I'm sorry, because in here it says GDI save to bitmap file. It goes to, it takes the pointer to
Uh-huh.
the bitmap first, then the output file.
Yeah,
So
and the output file extension will determine
the file,
the format.
So I will have to put the whole path to the
whole
file.
path
by the
to
way,
it.
right?
Yeah.
So I could just go ahead and comment out all this code.
Yeah.
And just have it go ahead and save it into a file. Let's go ahead and make it a desktop and see what happens here. So I don't want anything like this. I just want to.
Yeah.
Something. You have the file,
Now
and now I could just go ahead and run it.
play and pray.
Exactly. Let's see what happens here.
Hey,
Because when
hey, it's live. What could possibly go wrong?
like everything can go wrong. Everything can go wrong. So in general, let me see something. Let me check if I could. So the only thing is the sizing of it. The steps with the mouse wheel, for me, are really, really slow. I'm not really sure about it, but
In my case, I would use it to with a fixed size of 64 per 64 square.
so you mean
But anyway, yeah, kind of it'd be hard.
this is right.
Yeah,
So now if I do this, it should actually
create
go
a file.
into a file. Which
On
is
your
what
desktop.
I'll go ahead and verify now. There it is, and this file is
Ooh.
actually, so basically, again, this is the many of the things that you see other programmers doing, like, oh my God, how they do that? It's basically tinkering. We just tested, it worked, now I know how it goes, and
Yeah,
modifying
the
code.
last part of it is to change to, instead of capturing a circle, to capture a square. I don't know if
Right.
it's something you could find.
So let me see.
That's what I was wondering, because I like the square icons.
So control at some point is, here we go. If he gets a control, now here's the thing, the reason why I'm looking for this is because, hold on, let me see something. Sorry, let me see the script itself. But hold on, when you say square, because it looks round to me, but, okay, but.
Yeah, but it captures a round. It doesn't capture the whole content of what you select when you select what you want to capture.
Let me see if I understand. So this,
Yes.
these red lines in there, that's what it's actually capturing, and it is creating some, or no, you want.
But it's like cropping
I
out
wa-
just
I
to a
want the full-
circle.
I don't want the round cropping.
Exactly.
That's
Oh,
what I'm
right.
saying.
Exactly.
It's adding like
That's-
transparency.
Oh, and you can see right there, there's still the rectangle in the thing, right? The dimensions. You see the route, this.
Yes. So you want the full square.
The full square. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's doing like transparency with those
or
corners.
without the border.
Highlighting. Yeah.
So here's the thing. First of all, we do here where we set the raw bitmap. This is where it would grab whatever you are, you know, so whatever is on screen is going to be width. Now, we will have our position, X and Y, width and height, dispose. Dispose what? So let's go ahead and take a look at this thing and see what it does. What does dispose mean? Okay, so we don't want the image itself, actually draw it, and
maybe there's a cropping after this step.
let's find out if there's anything that has to do with cropping. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I found it. Crop icon. So we have here crop icon. Here it is. So now let's take a look at how was this used, by the way. This is used. Yeah, so after we capture the screen, it creates the image, and then he goes ahead and creates cropped.
If you comment this
So-
line, maybe we'll get a square.
Well, I would lose.
If
I would,
we're
no.
still lucky. We're still lucky. We're so lucky today. So
No, but here's the problem. This actually creates the bitmap. So if I remove this, I will get no image whatsoever, right? So I have to change that or
so
change that function.
inside this function, yeah.
Right. So probably we'll have to change something inside the function itself, because if I say let's create a new window here, control, it looks like it's working,
Yeah,
but
it's working. Yeah.
hold on, let me see. Oh, but is that the whole thing?
Is that the whole thing?
All right, and I just don't need the circle now. Well, I don't need that.
Is there a circle? Okay, maybe there's the border is still circle, but we could remove the border and we could have the image, the full square.
Or maybe
So the
create
border would have to be changed to be
to a square.
rectangle
Exactly,
instead of
exactly.
square instead of.
So let me double check if that actually works. So let's copy that thing or save the file. Yeah, it is a square icon now.
Yeah.
There you go. We are lucky.
We're
We are
doing
really
good
lucky.
progress. Yeah.
We are
It's been a good day.
Really lucky. Yeah, so
Yeah,
here's
good
the
day.
thing.
Hopefully, Hellbent watches this for the recommendations.
Part, I would make it an option. So
Would have done that
it's
in
round.
60 seconds.
So I would make that count optional. That's what I would do,
Uh-huh.
because some people might want it as a round thing, some people might not. Now we take a look at let's find the
Yeah, the
border.
border.
The border. So let's find out if we could be lucky enough border. So this is a
No, that's for the.
handle. Yeah,
Oh yeah. Okay.
but that's what I'm gonna try to
Yeah,
see
yeah,
if
yeah.
I could find where.
Adjust the slider.
Right, here we go. So this is when it says that the border is set. So this is where I go ahead and verify what he does. He will go with the alpha, the color, okay, fine. And then create 10. Oh, this is gonna be annoying. Ring width, draw ellipse. So maybe we can actually switch this, instead of to draw an ellipse, we could go ahead and create a square though.
Yeah, I'll just check in the library.
Right.
GDI library. Or draw.
So let's go ahead and, so here we go, we go to the GDI, draw, let's go, draw, and.
Draw rectangle. GDPI underscore draw rectangle.
Here we go. Right, so he had the ellipse, arc, pie, lines, and then we have the rectangle here. Let's double check if they're equivalent.
Yeah, same
Because,
parameters.
right, exactly. We have some things going on here between draw rectangle and draw ellipse. So both of them start with the P graphics, both of them take.
And
it to
X,
10.
Y.
Yeah,
same
so it's the
parameters.
same.
Yeah.
I just have to,
We make an if
Here.
else.
yeah, I would do it like later. If you wanted a square, then I would put, I would have an option for that, but let me see if it works first. There we go. So capture a new icon, get the width. Hold on, let me see. Now I have a square border.
Mhm.
So again, yeah, I'm making
Yeah.
go. So, so basically, in a few seconds, we were able to change
I
the
think
code. We were lucky. We were
We
really
should
lucky.
we should write this date in our calendar so we remember that day we were more lucky.
But you know what? I should do all the examples because when I type it, I'm very lucky. Very lucky.
But you're very good at exploring code from someone else. So
And that's the point.
Congrats
So,
on
no. So here's the thing. It's not me. It's the tool. You
Yeah,
have to
it's
have
well-
a tool
it's also well
that
done.
allows you. Right. So no, if you have a tool that helps you do stuff, right?
yeah,
It,
but it's
it
also
makes
the
it
code that the code is well written, so it's easy
as
to
well.
find. And
So
and
there's-
the function has the same parameter, so it helps playing with that. Yeah,
Now here's the thing.
but
Remember,
still you are
this is
good
the
at that.
thing. This is the thing. In general, this is the library that is a Windows library. So GDI plus,
Yeah.
you know, you can call it whenever you want. What they did is that they just simply added syntax sugar to it. And basically the only thing that they did here was depending on whether this is set or not, it
Yeah.
just passes something to the DLL.
Yeah,
You
is it
can
about
call those
32 or
DLLs
64?
Right.
34-bit or
He
32 or
actually didn't put the code there. This is always going to return uPointer because he's just checking if that is set, and that variable is always set to 4. 4, 8.
And what is it exactly? Pointer size? Is
so basically,
it
it
related
tells you-
to
it
running in 64-bit or 32 bits? Is it
Yes,
related to
it
that?
is. It is. So if it is 32-bit, it will be set to 4.
Uh-huh.
And if you run with 64-bit, it will be set to 8. So it is always set, and that's the reason why this code.
Yeah,
is
in
not
this
doing
case, it
anything.
will always be.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, this code is not doing anything.
always
particular.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, the point is that he was trying to start checking for whether it's 64 or not, and he just put this code as placeholder. So that is something that it doesn't matter at the moment. But in general, what I'm trying to say is this is a DLL call that you can do yourself all the
Yeah,
time.
anywhere in your script.
You do not need the library itself to do this.
Yeah.
You just have to do the DLL calls of whatever you need. So editing code is made easier when certain things are there. What is it that should be there? First, the code, you have tools that allow you to read the code quicker. And the person who created the code made it in a way that is
Findable,
consistent.
searchable.
Consistent. Yeah, if it is consistent, is what I'm trying to say. Because now I can just make a little if statement here that says if round
you use
icon, if use round icon, right? Then I would just do something like so this part here. Just put it down. So if it is a round icon, sorry. Oh, hold on. Did I just? Oh, sorry. I was just stupid. Raw ellipse. I just didn't copy the name. I had it close this time. So one of them is an ellipse. The other one is a rectangle. And so if is round, it would be that, else, just use it. Now, quick tip for people who are programming. The reason why everything looks so weird right now is because he tried to align code with tabs. That is not a good idea.
I don't like it.
No, that is not a good idea. So whenever you're aligning code, what you would use instead is actually spaces. So that in case that your code gets copied somewhere else, the spaces are going to remain always the same. I'm going to show you what I mean in a second. So if you wanted to align all of this to probably this comma here, I have an extension that does that for me. This is probably what he was looking at. And still, I wouldn't find it as a good alignment there. It is a little bit difficult to read, right? But
Yeah,
probably that's
but it's
what
a
he was
matter of
looking at.
preference, matter of preferences.
Yeah, that's how he codes.
And how your editor is doing the indentation. My editor is doing indentation of two only, so my indentation are quite coupled.
Right, right. Now, here's the thing. There's one reason why you might want to do what he's doing. The point here is that he can comment a line really quickly. So probably he had this parameter here. He wanted to put different options, probably because he was testing something, and he would comment this one out and then put this one in.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So maybe that's the reason. When you have like one line for function, you cannot comment stuff very easily. That's one of the reasons why he might be doing this.
And you could add comment at the end of each parameter on each
Right.
line if you want to
Right.
give information about each parameter.
But the only thing is, what I want to tell you is, if you're going to align your code, do not
use
use
space.
tabs. Use spaces,
Yeah.
because that way, if I copy
there's-
it to another, if I change the tab size, as you said, like something more compact, I do not lose the alignment. You see that?
Inside, there's an option that will convert tabs to space. Many
Yes,
editors have
it will.
this option.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this case, notice that here on top, everything is kind of like aligned, and he was doing something very similar. If I change the tab size to 4, so if I change the tab size to 4, the indentation, look, that now it is a little bit more close to what he had. But that's the reason why you wouldn't align code using tabs. You would do it with spaces, so that it doesn't matter how many tabs, the tab size I have, your code would remain aligned. Here on the top, it hasn't changed. It doesn't matter what indentation I have, but here at the bottom, it actually moves right or left. That's not a good idea.
Yeah, I always code
Great.
with tab first, just because it's faster than typing 4 spaces or what. But then, like John was saying at the end, Notepad, it's Control H, and you just say replace all tabs with 4 spaces or whatever.
Yeah, no, fitting notepad plus where if you press tab, it will insert spaces instead of
I would do it like
tab.
right away.
Yeah, so that way it's easy to enter tab with spaces, but with only one.
Or basically use extensions that align code for you. You just select the code, select where you want to align it, press a hotkey, and now everything's aligned with spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the main idea, that it should be done like that automatically for you. And
Does
now your
VS
code
Code
is
doing
good.
that?
Well, not only that, it is an extension in VS Code, but that means that in your editor, there might be an
Maybe there's
extension
an
for
extension.
aligning, right, for aligning code. If you search for that, you might be able to find one for you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now we have a nice little if statement here that is going to be false automatically, because I do not have that option. So as I haven't included that option,
We have
on
to
my
add
script,
something to the GUI.
right? Yeah, so I'm going to add that, but it is going to be false by default, and that means that my code is still going to draw stuff, right? So it's still going to work, but it is just going to do it
And,
automatically.
And earlier you used the variable round instead of round icon when we did, the before
The other one, okay, yeah.
yeah,
So
when we
that
did
was my
the-
other code.
Yeah, you're just there, line 228,
So let's go to 228. Round.
round icon.
So this is for creating
A future
yeah,
checkbox
exactly.
for a future checkbox on in the GUI.
That's it. And basically, modifying stuff like this is not that hard. Once you get the hang of it, you know where to look for. And actually here, the clipboard base, instead of doing that, I would actually create, I would just
A
leave the
second
existing
copy.
code. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
actually leave that, and I would have
Give
kind
two
of like a save button, save to file. 64, I can see what's that basic. Oh no, that was actually to a file itself. So that would be kind of like another thing that I would modify on my GUI. I would have a button that we would have the buttons. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Clipboard, and I would have a different button that would go to save file, I think it is. Save to file. fine here to see the label that I said just a second ago. So that's the G label. Save to file. I will add a button. I will take a look at the GUI, how it looked like. Actually, why isn't it? Oh, yeah, because of the exam. That's that. I hope that he does not have a specific size for the GUI. That means that whenever I add stuff, we just resize to it. Now I have a save to file button, a clipboard button. They both perform stuff differently. And here where it says add border, I would have another checkbox right next to it. So the border here, where is it? It's one of the first ones. Here we go. So that checkbox, I could just make it +5. It is also in the same location. Round icon maybe. And this is going to be checked. Handle is going to be handle. And main checkbox handle. I would say main round checkbox handle. I would take it, and wherever I found that, which was this one. This one stays the same. And you see where I found that. Oh, so you see where we got the recontrol get. Whenever I am referring to the round icon here, then we could just create a control get statement for my main object, in this case, because it was not passed by somebody, my main object, and I would get the round icon, was it that I said? Round checkbox. So round checkbox. So that should give me that, and I would make it the same as my icon. My if statement down here. So again, I'm just going to get the value of that checkbox and store it in round icon, and now my if statement should be working. And I have another round icon statement somewhere. Let me go ahead and find it. Here it is. And I already have my control get check. That's for this, and I do the second one for the round icon, and this time it is in the object because you passed it. There you go. So with this code, I should have two checkboxes here. If it is round, let me verify what happens there. Okay, we do have a round icon here. Now something interesting is happening with the border, right? So it is interesting that it is taking the position of the border. So I would switch those two buttons to see what happens. But now if I select, look at that.
Yeah, you would have to capture again.
Right, but
it would change the border.
Right, the border, yeah. So I could capture a different window. There you go. So now we have a totally working script that we just.
Hey, help them watching, by the way.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Now let's go ahead and take a look. If you can actually tell me about this add border. Why does the add border position be, thrown off in there? Let me see if just moving these two around might help a little bit. Oh, maybe the X+5? Huh, I don't think so. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So XM here and X+5 here. See what happens there. So I'm going to capture something else. Nope. So just by me adding it, let me see if that's the point. So if adding, I don't really think that's the case. I modified something without noticing. Oh no, so adding a new button actually.
Maybe it's the number of the control that is used somewhere else too. to add the border to the image.
Hold on. Let me check and see. So now that I know that that's not the issue, let's go ahead and take a look at what is going on and how am I. So basically, let me find this thing here. I do get a check box here, and this is where it goes ahead and checks the ring, right?
By the way.
Oh, that's awesome. So here, control get width. It's okay. Creates a pen for that width. But hold on, let me see. This is for. No, that's not what I'm looking for. I want to. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. When it is happening, that's the thing. Hey.
Hello, Ben.
So actually, yeah, when we capture the strip. So that's when we capture the item. I'm just, botching it. Changing stuff in here without your permission.
And doing it live.
I just joined the stream and just recognized it.
Andre's like, oh, my ears are burning.
Ooh, I have any questions in here? There's a few things that might seem a little bit weird, and they're weird to me too. Like there was a small little problem with the sizing, like when you add a ring afterwards when it saves it. The way I compensated was to add something where it ends up messing it up if you end up going bigger. So like the ring size where it gets positioned and cut might seem a little bit weird if you go into that.
Okay, so basically, let me double check something. Let me show you what. Let's fix this one first, and then we go into that. Because here's the thing: I'm using the add border function, right? If you notice the positioning here in the preview, this positioning, where is that code handled? Because just by adding a new button, I just added a new checkbox here. It just went ahead and.
I think I can't remember how I'm doing. Okay? How am I drawing? Am I drawing right to a control, or am I drawing to a window, or where's my?
You know what? Let me do this. Whenever
I think it's a control, right?
It looks like control, and this is what I'm going to check right now. So, for those watching, if you see that there's actions performed when you click or something, there is a function that is with that. That positioning is set in that function. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take a look at that button first. And let me go ahead and take a look at the check mark itself. And then we have this adjust slider function, which we could go ahead and find. There it is. Well, it is a label. And this is the one that is setting off the location. So I'm going to place a break here. Just restore this.
Okay, so yeah, I'm using set image. So there is a picture control or a text control.
Okay. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to look for is where do you get the value positions for that control? So right now I have 60, that's with an
So if you look at probably where I created the control, it probably has a object associated with it. So if I add a picture, it probably has an object immediately created. So if you go to where the GUI is created.
Let's go ahead and do that. So the GUI is created up here.
And there usually I'll have like an object that
manages here, main.
Okay, so I just have a handle.
Yes, you do have the handle for that slider. And that's
okay, so I probably have some default size then. So above this, there'll probably be a variable that has a default size.
And let me just 1 second. So let me comment this code out, right? So by having the border here, notice that the border. Okay, hold on a minute. Let me comment this out. Okay. So notice that the border is placed right in this location, and the X and Y location, particularly the Y location is the one that I'm interested in.
It's probably 0. It's probably 0 or 1.
0, 1. Okay, but how is that actually affected when I add a new control? Because what I'm doing is I'm adding a new control, and now for some reason, Where's my checkbox? Oh, right, because this here has to be x+5. Now, as soon as I add a second checkbox, now what happens is that the location, the Y location for the border is modified. And that's something that, for me, I'm not sure how that, what has that to do if I haven't changed the Y position in any way. What I mean.
Well, I can't tell you. I don't know exactly what your end goal here is because I just joined, right? But one of the things that I would have changed from the beginning is when you capture the image, it should capture a little bit of border around it, and then afterwards it should crop an inner part of the window, and then when you display it, it should have that same pattern.
Okay.
And what we've done before is we just
We-
bypassed the cropping when we
Yeah.
do rectangle a square instead of a circle.
Right, so let's go ahead and get that first. So I did a little bit of a modification here in which if you have a round icon, it would create a cropped image for it. If you don't, then it would make the square image of it. So basically, let me remove this, and you will notice that when I capture something, it would be a square icon instead. That's the idea behind it. So it is very simple what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I noticed that the square border is working perfectly fine. The problem is when I have a round icon. So now, if I go ahead and capture again, so let's go ahead and capture a new icon. I do get my round icon, but the border position.
Okay, so for some reason your position is getting adjusted because it should be drawing at 0, 0 inside of it, and that's obviously not drawing at 0, 0 in it.
Exactly. So when you're saying that it is drawing it here,
Like there's a bitmap and a control that has the same size as the bitmap, right? So when you draw the circle, it's supposed to be in the top left corner. Start in the top left corner, and then
so my X and Y location might be so
should be 0. Should be 0. They should be
Okay,
0.
so let's see what happens there. So,
Or rather, though, yeah. Sorry.
let me double check what is going on when I go ahead and do this. So I stopped here, and my main X and Y might be the positioning of the GUI itself, right?
So there's two things. There's the bitmap that you capture from the screen, which has its own X and Y position, and then you draw it onto a new bitmap but you draw the one that you captured from the screen at 0, 0 on the new one. I think,
and this is the thing, I do not have any issues with the capturing of it, because after I capture it and I save it, for example, I added this save to file option.
It just looks like you're drawing your circle at an offset.
Yeah, it looks like that. And I'm noticing that you're using the draw image here with the main object. So this main object has an offset for some reason at some point. Let's see, hold on.
No, it's 0, 0.
It is at 0, 0, but
Yeah,
the width and height might change, looks like. So let's take a look at the difference between width and height between this one here. So, yeah, here we go. So the width and height for this one is 60 and 60, okay? 0, 0, what else? That should be good, right? And if I do not have this, if I do not have a round icon, would that be 60, 60 as well? Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
So I do not see any place in here with the 0, the X and Y positioning.
Where are you filling? Where's your circle? Fill ellipse.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. Fill ellipse. Fill. This is the one that is filling. Oh, create curve.
Good tutorial on debugging for everybody.
Yep. So here we do have some main position width and height. Double check on something. Let me see what happens when I go ahead. And again, notice that I just place a breakpoint. My script is still running. I just place a breakpoint in different locations, I should be good to go. So let me remove this one here. Capture line. Create code. Where am I using that?
It's not executed because we bypassed
Ah,
it because
exactly.
it's not around. So there's really something in the
bypassed.
cropping that is required even if it is a rectangle.
Exactly. So now here's the deal. If it is round, the main position. So let's go ahead and do this.
I would suggest that we pass the round as a parameter to create crop icon bitmap and then execute only what is required if it is round or not.
Right. So and that's the part that
inside
I need to
create crop
Yeah,
icons.
so I have to modify this guy here.
Yeah.
Now here's the part. We have to verify if, or I could just get the value from here.
Yeah, you could also do
Yeah. And then we just go ahead and verify. This is for the ellipse. So this is the part that creates either, sorry, this is the part that I should modify because I do not want an ellipse, I want a square. So let's go ahead and take a look at the CBI. Still rectangle is the one that I need, right? So probably still ellipse if it is round, rectangle if it is not round. So please. So if I can, round icon, let's say, there we go. I do this, else, that. So now I just have to get the value for round icon, which I got it from here. Here. Do I need it in this location anymore? Check.
No.
I do not need it, so I could just cut it. And we don't need this any longer. It's going to be there. Let's go back to you, and let's just get the info that we need. So now, if it is round, my okay, so this is working. It is the problem.
All right, I'm back.
The location of the border. So now this is the part.
Could you try, Isaias, if you just reverse the order of the checkboxes, because it's related to the fact that you insert a checkbox.
Yeah, it is kind of like
And if
about
you
the
just,
location.
yeah,
right?
just reverse the position of it, just to see it.
So basically, no, I tried it a few minutes ago, and I got the same.
Yeah.
The same thing. So again, it
Yeah,
does that if there is a second.
If there are two,
Which makes no sense to me because I'm not really sure how they're related though. So let me see.
For cousins.
They're cousins, right? So adding the border here, like removing the checkbox.
yeah, it's square by default.
Right. Now, but that is interesting how adding a new control modifies the Y position on, and let me double check something. Instead of adding it right next to it, what happens if I added
You put it at the bottom.
below it, right? Let me just do this.
Well, okay, so the position of the controls, does that get changed? No, I guess it doesn't get changed.
No, so that's the. It is very interesting, and the square one works fine. So square works fine. It's the round one that is having issues. So, and it is when it is set. So there's part of my code when the checkbox is set, like when the round checkbox is set. Let's go ahead and double check it out.
I mean, it seems kind of like a hackery way. What if you just change the variable back to 0? create a variable that equals 0, whatever it's called.
I'm sorry, let me double check. Maybe, so hold on, let me double check on something. When do I get the issue? So I think here's where the issue is. No, but I do not.
Do you have a quick way of posting your code to me?
Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and do this. Just so GitHub. I think we have any just around icons of there's going to be a public just do I need anything else?
I don't know.
Just post one. Yeah, here we go. I'm gonna share it via
In
Zoom.
the chat. In
Yeah.
the chat.
The only thing that we're trying to solve right now, because everything else looks fine except for saving to a file, because I probably didn't set the thing correctly here. So let me fix that first. Save to file. I added a button that said save to file. And that, yeah, I know what happened. Oh, I do have it here. Let's take a look at what happened here. Then I click on save to file. Yeah, it does get cold. So why didn't it work? Capturing
Try saving it with this offset circle just to see if it will be.
That's what I was trying to do. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
Maybe
But
it's
for
only
some
a GUI
reason,
issue.
For some reason, no. But look at that. It is not saving that.
Not at all. Okay.
No. But let me double check something. So it is like this. Yeah, the square one gets saved. So there's something with the bitmap itself. So the save to file is working. When it has this offset, I cannot even save the file from there. And that is interesting to me. I'm not really sure how that got introduced, but that's the issue when you have code that is not yours. You have to try to first
I
understand
suggest that we review the.
Uh-huh.
I suggest that we review the video tomorrow and we will find it.
Yeah, we will find it like very easily, right? Like,
Oh, that's at
chroma here.
at 26 minutes 30 seconds. He introduced the bug.
Right, exactly. But in general, here's the thing. For now, we saw how quickly we can modify code. And so long as you understand more or less where to find the stuff or where to make the change, very detailed, simple changes as we are doing, they're going to be very quick to, add optional stuff to an existing script. It's not that hard. The hard part is when you find these types of bugs because you don't understand how the script works. So right now, the only part that I'm trying to figure out is where in the code.
Where is it drawing the ring at? The border for the ring? What line is that at? I forget what it was called.
Hold on, let's see. Draw a ring. I think it is ring. Here, draw a ring. Here we go.
Okay, like 247.
This one, no, that's where it's defined, but
Yeah.
this is where it's used. It is used in 203.
Okay.
And where else? Hold on, 203 and in 292. Those are the two positions. And that's the thing. So usually it is sending this object master key. Now, the question is if that already contains the X and Y positioning of
At 0.
right. And I see here where it says draw image that we pass it at 0, but raw ring in particular, I thought that converting draw ellipse to rectangle would have solved the issue right away. But it seems to me that there's something that I'm missing here. So, good thing. You know what? I think I know. It is exactly as you mentioned. At some point during the video, we introduced the bug, and I didn't know where, right? Remember that I was showing that you could comment lines or switch lines really quickly? I added the one with 5 points here, and I commented out the one with the 1. So I introduced the bug not that long ago.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and verify what happened here. Let's see if that fixes it. That would be funny. That would be so funny. There you go. So I introduced a small bug by switching code, and it seems to be that he was testing something with those.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you about. I don't know if am I on like. That's what I was telling you about. When I noticed that when it's sized up, like when you add the border, it wouldn't fit right. So I was tweaking around with some things to get it to look a little bit nicer, and I don't know. I solved part of it, but if you upsize, if you have a border and then you upsize, the border size is a little bit gets scaled at the wrong rate.
Okay, let's double check what. So let me reproduce the bug. Hold on, just 1 second. What did I do now? What did I do now?
Like I said, though, ultimately you'd want to have a little bit of a padding.
Right. So
I know. Yes, I noticed that for the square border, it was not exactly the same size on
That's
each
because there's no
side.
padding. Because there's no
Yeah.
padding.
That's probably that. So that's something that would need to be tweaked to have a perfect border around the square.
just reload this.
You can also just draw the border 1 pixel wider, and 1 pixel taller.
So what you're saying is that when I'm capturing, if I go ahead and set
I think it's if you take that at 5 pixels.
Okay, so hold on, 5 here, right? I need to adjust the steps to be a little. So hold on, here. Nope, I cannot do it there.
No, it's shift. Hold shift. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but it is very, oh, so I could set a specific size, and when I do shift,
And then
it jumps to it. Yeah, okay, that's good. Because the thing is that with the wheel, it was very slow. But
Slow.
no,
It's slow. It can be jumped up to 10. It should probably go up by 10. But I want.
No, but that's good because that's good for precision, right? But
Yeah, and I
I
don't know
was
if you
not
noticed.
aware that it could do that.
I don't know if you're aware, but you can also use your arrow keys right now too, and shift with your arrow keys.
Yeah, but that's for adjusting position. Okay, cool. But what I'm going to do is that probably add Alt to do the same stepping, but at a 10% at a higher interval.
Yeah,
That's good.
That's,
So
what I usually do.
Right. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to jump to whatever I want. You say that if it is a very big pixel rate like that.
Well, you make it take something small and then expand it out, and you'll see that
Okay, so
the
let's go
border
ahead and
doesn't
get.
fit right.
Okay,
The
so
border
let's go
doesn't
ahead
get
at 5, you said, right? So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and get this here. Of course, well, yeah, it is actually.
Now stretch it out. Now make it bigger.
Yep. So let's make it bigger.
There you go. See the white? You shouldn't see that white.
All right. So this white in here is what you're referring to.
Yes.
So that means that there's a padding going on in there. So whenever you capture the image, but that is interesting. There wouldn't be no padding because you.
Just a reminder, we got about 4 minutes left.
No, it's
Okay.
because it's because
when you're scaling.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Like right now, when you take the screenshot, it's adjusting. It tries to adjust the size of that padding so that way it fits the border properly. But then it doesn't work when you upscale.
Okay. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna post this code on a gist so that it is kind of like available for everybody. I will do some
You
modifications
can
as
post
well.
it right in the
Yeah, I will, exactly. So, but I mean the updated one, because the one that I posted was with the bug. I will also make a little change later on to allow you to type the pixels, maybe. I don't know why you chose not to type it. Instead of an edit control, you actually selected, pre-selected some. But in any case, I would just
And could
post
you just,
those changes.
and before maybe Isaiah, could you check if you do a square border, if it is,
So let me take a.
so it looks
border.
like it looks good. But at some point earlier, I was under the impression that the width of the border was not equal on the four sides. But it looks nice now.
Notice that when let me see if that happens with, look at that. With the square one, we do not get the issue that he was referring to. Probably that is because of the alpha channel that you set up. So you remember that when you go ahead and capture here, so capture in the window, here, when you do the cropping, there is an alpha thing going on in there. But notice, oh, look, that only happens when you capture small parts. So yeah. Well, those are little details. Yeah, so when you upscale something that it was small, let me try with the square one again.
That is possible to fix, though. It is possible to fix.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And capture small. Oh yeah, so you have the same issue. Yeah. So it's best to capture a higher image and then scale
and
down
reduce it
until that is actually fixed. Right. So just capture at 300. You get, well, the problem is that that's too big. So depending on what you want to capture, how you want to.
Generally speaking, you will always want to capture a big, right? Right?
Yeah. I'm also going to make it so that whenever you do this, probably this gets updated as well. So when you update this, I do not have to press the shift maybe. So I could update the size real time in there, just capture what I need, update it to what I'm expecting. And I have the border, I have that, capture, save to file. Let me see if that's working. Yep, now it's working. The rectangular one, the circle one is also being saved. And probably we should have an option to save a specific type of file. So when you click on save to file, it would ask you the extension. Probably that would be something that I would add prior to
Yeah,
this.
a dialog box to select the location.
Right, exactly, exactly.
And by the extension, you set the format.
Right, so.
Isaiah, you always impress me. And Elban, thank you for the script.
No, this one is really actually I like that.
Yeah, I needed something like this, so it's not like all flushed out and everything. It's not like a like something that I would normally release or whatever. I just needed a tool to do this, and I figured other people would find it useful too. So
Yeah, kind of like what Joe was saying with having 20 to 50 icons on your desktop that are all the green H.
Yeah.
So this is definitely a way to make that a little easier and faster.
And I'll make maybe a stripped down version of this to be used in quick access pop-up. When you want to create an icon, it will just be more integrated, saving it at the location where quick access pop-up save its icons and making it 64 by 64 because that's the width that's by default. But it's very cool too. Thank you.
So there you go. I have, if it doesn't have a file, it would actually message like, you have to specify a file location. And if not, it would just go ahead and save it. I assume that this would save the file that it was created. What did I do? For some reason. So in the desktop PNG, I am passing like the whole thing, right? The test.png. I'm passing the location. What's the problem? It was just right now working. And the main object has the output bitmap. Where is it?
And you can create all kinds of different shapes that you want.
Oh, look at
All it is
that.
is Just,
Out P bitmap is empty. No, that's right. I'm sorry?
John, if you have, you can make different shapes too. So right now you can make a circle out of it, but if you build like a rounded rectangle or whatever, it just uses a screen in. So whatever you fill over top, it'll remove that, or it'll keep that part of the image. So you can have a heart shape, diamond shape, whatever shape you want. Right?
Cool. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and take a look at that.
Say it's about time to wrap up, guys.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, so I was just testing this out. It is saving the file. You have to capture first. So if you haven't captured, I will make it. That's it. And I'm going to save this code to the link that I'm going to provide. Probably, Joe, you can send it, or you guys
Yeah,
can.
we'll put it on the automator.
Exactly. Okay, awesome.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Don't forget AutoHockeyCon not next week. August 6th and 7th.
There you go. It's good.
I meant this year. All right. See you guys.
Next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So yeah, don't forget we have AutoHockeyCon coming up. Currently have it posted in the chat with some information about it. It's on Joe's website, so definitely check that out. And it's gonna be August 6th and 7th. We're gonna have lots of panels. It's gonna be 4 hours each day, talking about various things. You know, the first one's obviously gonna be an intro to, you know, here's this panelist for today. Here's when he's speaking or her. What are they going to be talking about? And then just kind of a background, you know, why they got in auto hockey, that kind of stuff. But if there's anything specific you think there should be as a panel, you know, some mentions were version 1, version 2, stuff like that. Definitely hit up that survey, and then it'll do 2 things. It gives you the opportunity to give recommendations on what you think should be for panels, and also on getting signed up with an email. That way, when the time comes closer, you don't forget, and it just sends out an email to remind you that, hey, we're about to have the Auto Hockey Con. All right, guys. See ya.